Creating the ideal party composition is a key part of Granblue Fantasy Relink, as you want to make sure that your team can cover every weakness, on top of being able to deal plenty of consistent damage, have the ability to crowd control the enemies, and just overall make the fight a lot easier for you. And especially because we're getting harder content very soon, with the new patch adding Lucilius to the game, a level 200 raid boss fight that we have actually been able to take a glimpse of, and in there you see that Lucilius is capable of wiping out an entire party in just a couple of seconds. And so whenever so many of you guys have been asking me what in my opinion is the ideal party composition and what party I'm going to be bringing for Lucilius, well, I decided to make this video for you. Now, of course, the first piece in the puzzle that is making the optimal party composition is going to be what character am I going to be picking, which one do I believe is a good option as a playable character. And there's actually quite a few here, so let us quickly run through some of them. Now, one of my first recommendations would be the main character, as they're actually quite a competent character, being able to apply debuffs to the enemy, while at the same time dealing competent damage and having all sorts of utility that they can provide to the team. Having two ways to apply defense down, through armor break as well as miserable mist, which also applies attack down, is certainly going to make fight a boss that is 100 levels above you a lot easier. Alternatively, you could opt to go with Substitute and Phalanx, giving a 70% damage cut to your allies, and using Substitute to make sure that nobody is wiped out by those big AoEs that will be one-shotting people, is surely going to make the fight a whole lot easier. And then of course, as the main character, you have access to a heal, a cleanse that provides regen, debuff immunity, and even a revive. There's a ton of options when going with the MC, though I do understand that the captain isn't everybody's cup of tea. Now, Katalina I think would be a very good pick as well, because not only is she capable of dealing plenty of damage, but her party-wide utility is also insane. Not only is she able to freeze enemies, letting everyone else in the party deal damage to the boss, but being able to provide invincibility to the entire party, or a 15% defense bonus as well as Stout Heart, which has an inherent 20% defense bonus. These are just insanely good party-wide buffs, and sadly the AI Katalina would not be making good use of these skills, but if you choose to go with Katalina as your playable character, I really do believe that you're going to have much higher odds of beating any sort of content, including Lucilius, on your very first try. Now, Yodarha might seem like a bit of an odd choice, but I personally like him a lot just because of how many defensive options he has. Not only does he have invincibility whenever he performs a combo finisher, he also has a built-in parry that is able to give him supplementary damage, so he is able to stay up close to the boss and keep on dealing damage relentlessly. But on top of that, he has one of the very best party-wide utilities in the game. It's not as good as invincibility, but he is able to provide mirror image for everyone else in the party, as long as he casts this skill whenever he has the triple shroud marks full, which doesn't take a lot of work for them to be full, especially if you use his sigils, and he is actually a pretty decent character at dealing damage. Not a top tier for sure, but because he is able to keep on dealing damage when others can't, and he has that party-wide utility, I believe he is going to be a pretty decent choice. So if I want just a very safe option as my main character, I could go with Vane. So Vane would be very good thanks to his rampart skill, being able to protect everyone. And he's also just a very reliable character since he is able to heal through everything. So I could totally see myself playing as Vane for the main character. Now, that being said, because I do believe there will be opportunities where you won't be able to hit Lucilius at close range, I feel like Ferry would be very valuable here, because for one, if you have Ferry signature sigils, you can inflict attack down and defense down nearly permanently as long as your pets are available. That is already amazing. She's also got a slow. I don't think slows are going to be particularly good against him, but if you need good CC, you have slows. You have Heinrichten, which is a pretty decent tool to be able to increase your damage and also provides you with invincibility. So again, you're able to boost your damage output but still dodge an attack. Like if he has a big AoE that one-shots you, you can pop this and you dodge it. She also has Stout Heart, so that is another bonus. She's just a very solid character that, again, she has very long range on her attacks, so I feel like she's gonna be very good against Lucilius. She can also be the support character, If you were to play her as a support, you probably wouldn't go with these two skills, but I feel like Ferry would be a good main character. But then for the rest of the party, I feel like Eugen is going to be one of the best characters to add to your team, because Eugen, not only does he have paralysis, which is the best CC in the entire game, he deals tons of damage. On top of that, he can lower the enemy's defense, and because he's gonna be at level 200, the defense down is going to be very valuable. And the poison is just more damage over time. Maybe the laser beam is not going to be very well against a humanoid character, in the sense that it doesn't likely have multiple parts that you can hit, but maybe it does, so it's going to be good. I just think that Eugen is going to be very good with that. And for the rest of the character slots, I think that Siegfried is also a very good option here. I have a very big suspicion that Lucilius will have a good emphasis on debuffs from everything that I have read about him, so having the skill Salvatore, which provides you with debuff immunity, is likely going to be very important. And also the fact that you get Drain, being able to heal HP as you deal damage, that is also going to be very good. And of course Siegfried has Mirage, which is one of the best buffs in the entire game. Being able to have a 70% defense bonus is just really good. I can totally see Siegfried being a really good character to bring on any party for this fight, so without a shadow of a doubt, I want Siegfried to be there. And then for the final member, if you really want to go the defensive route, you can go with the main character, because not only is the main character have the ability to heal your team with this skill, they're also able to provide you with damage cut, so you combine that with Siegfried, you're never going to die. But of course you can also replace the captain with Cagliostro, and you know, Cagliostro has more damage than the captain, thanks to her sigil has the ability to permanently decrease the enemy's defense as well. She also has a very nice healing spell, she is able to decrease the enemy's attack. Let's not forget about Phantasmagoria, one of the best buffs in the entire game, because it stacks with everything. And Disruption is also a very nice spell that is going to remove a buff from the enemy, and who knows, maybe Lucilius has a buff that makes all of his attacks one-shot. So yeah, I would likely go with a team like this. I feel like this is a very solid option, and then maybe you change your main character around depending on what you like to play. For myself personally, I feel like Lancelot, Vane, Percival, even Yodarha and Ferry are likely going to be the options that I like the most. But yeah, I think that these are very solid teams for Lucilius for sure. Personally, I wouldn't like to go with a character that has a very strong mechanical focus. Like for example, I wouldn't want to go with Ghandagoza or Vaseraga for example, that takes a very long time to get off his attacks. And I also wouldn't want to go with Id, because even though he is my favorite character in terms of how much fun he is to play, Id has this big problem that, you know, his transformations take up a very long time. But yeah, the problem with Id is that a lot of times you're going to enter God Might and the boss is going to move, or you're going to lose your chance, or you need to save up cooldowns to be able to use in God Might. Id is this very weird character in terms of DPS, but at the same time he's also a very powerful character in the sense that he also has something that he can do very well. Like if Lucilius stays at range for a portion of the fight, you can stay in dragon form and just use ranged attacks. So I feel like it takes some skill to understand. It has a lot of commitment issues, but he can be a very solid character for a lot of fights as well. But yeah, my top 3 choices as playable characters would be Percival, Lancelot and Ferry. These would be my top 3 choices. If I am to take a character that has short range, I'm going with Lancelot because he is very easy to play, he has a lot of ways to dodge damage, and he can also freeze the enemy, so he has a lot of utility there. He doesn't rely on anyone saving him because, you know, a good Lancelot is not going to take damage. I believe I was able to do a fire dragon without getting hit once with him, so like, if you practice with Lancelot, you can totally do fights without taking damage. And hopefully with this party composition, you'll be more than prepared to deal with Lucilius and any sort of upcoming content coming into Granblue Fantasy Relink. Because who knows, after all we might be getting even more level 200 quests added to the game, which I would really love to see. And if that's the case, you're going to want to be prepared because a lot of things that we're not going to be taking into account right now, such as attack up buffs or defense down debuffs, are going to become a lot more important. Let me know how you feel about my party composition. Is there any member that you would swap around, and are you excited for the Lucilius raid? Let me know all of that in the comment section below. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Dark Hero, and as always, happy hunting!